London, 1700. The sun slips away and the city turns to ink. No electric lamps, no sirens, no police cars waiting at the corner. We build this night from what survives parish records, court notes, and the quiet paper trail traced by Britannica and Oxford's historians of the Old Watch. Now the camera drifts down to street level. You hear chains on a gate, boots on cobbles, a lantern breathing in the fog. Follow the watchman as he calls the hour, tests a door, listens for trouble close enough to feel the dark press back, while London holds its breath until dawn. From above, London is a scatter of dim warmth and deep shadow, clusters of candlelight behind leaded glass, dark lanes running between them like seams. The river is a slow ribbon, reflecting only what little fire it can steal. Smoke hangs low. The air tastes of coal, damp wood, and last meals cooling on plates. Now we descend. Roof lines tilt and crowd together. Streets narrow until two carts cannot pass. The ground is uneven, slick where yesterday's rain has settled. A shutter closes. A bolt slides. Somewhere a hearth goes dark and a room loses its only light. During the day, this city is noise and commerce. Porters, apprentices, markets, bells. But night changes the rules. Work ends. Eyes disappear behind doors. Witnesses vanish. In the dark, distance becomes cover. You hear it first as texture, a hurried step that does not match the hour, a laugh spilling out of a tavern, then cutting short, the clink of a chain being lifted. Careful, practiced. In alleys, men move close to walls. In courtyards, dogs stop barking and listen. Fire is the constant fear, not a spectacle, an inevitability. Timber frames, tar, straw, crowded roofs. One overturned lamp can run from house to house faster than any message. And when it happens, there is no engine waiting, no uniformed brigade sweeping in, only neighbors, buckets, shouts that have to travel by mouth. Theft is ordinary. Violence is not rare. A city this dense cannot stay calm without some kind of watch. Not a modern police force, something older, local, human. A presence that walks the streets so the streets do not belong entirely to the dark. And so parishes hire men to do one simple thing, be seen. A lantern, a staff, a slow circuit, a voice calling time into silence outside. Now we leave the main street and slip into a doorway no wider than a shoulder, a single room above a shop. Plaster walls, a small fire giving up its heat. This is where the night watch begins. He is not a soldier, not a detective. He is a working man hired by the parish to endure the hours when everyone else sleeps. Older, often, sometimes stiff in the knees, sometimes with hands that once carried crates or pulled rope along the river. Tonight he moves slowly, because he has learned that quiet is part of the job. He pulls on a heavy coat, checks the buckle. A strip of leather creaks. He lifts a lantern and shields the flame with his palm until it steadies. Then a staff. Wood worn smooth where other hands have gripped it. Tools meant less to win a fight than to make a figure in the dark. Outside, he pauses, listens. The city answers in fragments, a drunk song fading, a cart chain settling, footsteps far off, then gone. This is what a watchman is: presence, routine. A man paid to walk a circle so that alleys feel watched, doors feel closer to safety, and a shout has someone to run toward it. He can call the hour, raise an alarm for fire, rouse neighbors if trouble starts. He can detain a stranger long enough for others to gather, but he is not the law in full. For that, the parish has constables, local officers with authority to serve warrants, make arrests, and bring people before a magistrate. The watchman is the city's night skin. The constable is its hand on paper. And here is the softer truth: the person meant to guard London is often the one London can most easily ignore. Paid little, trusted with much, carrying light into streets that do not care who holds it until morning returns and faces reappear. Now we step out with him. The lantern swings in a small arc, lighting brick, then cobble, then nothing. We follow the same route he follows every night, a loop drawn through his parish like a stitched seam. At the corner he stops, listens, then lifts his voice, not loud, just firm enough to carry. The hour is spoken into the street so sleepers can hear time passing, and so anyone awake knows a watch is near. A door shifts behind a curtain. A window opens a finger's width, then closes again. This is watch and ward in its simplest form. Ward is the stillness guards posted at gates, at crossings, at places where movement concentrates. Watch is the motion men walking, checking, returning, walking again. Not a centralized force, a patchwork made by parishes, paid for locally, enforced by habit. Some carry a rattle, wood clacking like teeth, a signal meant to travel farther than a shout. It is crude, but it turns private fear into public noise. Fast enough. We move on, past a bakery with cold ovens, past a stable that smells of straw and wet leather. The lantern catches a pale mark on a wall where smoke once licked the plaster. Fire leaves reminders everywhere. He tests a latch with the tip of his staff, not to break in, to feel if something has been forced. He looks up at roof lines, watching for a glow that should not be there. He pauses near a yard where barrels are stacked. Wood, tar, hemp rope. The kindling of a city. When he finds trouble, he is not meant to handle it alone. That is the design. He calls out. He raps the staff on the stone. He wakes households that have promised, in theory, to respond. Neighbors appear with blankets, buckets, hands half-dressed and faces still in sleep. Safety is a chorus, not a solo. And then the street quiets again. The watchman resumes his circuit. Another corner, another pause, another hour, the same slow proof. Repeated that the night is being noticed. Now we shift away from the lantern circle and toward the places where authority is kept. A small office near the church. Paper stacked in uneven piles. Wax, a seal. This is where the parish constable can be found, if he is awake, if he is willing, if he has not been pulled elsewhere. He does not walk the streets for hours like the watchman. He appears when the night becomes a matter, not just a feeling. A door forced, a fight that will not stop, a name spoken with urgency. He arrives with 2 other men, because he is not meant to do it alone either. You hear the difference immediately. The watchman calls time. The constable calls people. He knocks hard. He summons neighbors to form a posse. He sends for a warrant when daylight returns. He takes a man by the arm, not gently, and brings him toward the lockup, toward a magistrate, toward a record that will outlast the bruise. His power is local and procedural. It comes from the parish, from custom, from the expectation that someone must enforce order even when no one wants to. But it is not professional in the way we imagine policing now. The constable is often a tradesman serving a term, a duty rotated, resisted, sometimes avoided. He may know the people involved. He may owe them money. He may drink with them on other nights. And still the mechanism holds. In London, 1700 law is not a distant institution. It is a man with a list of names, a key to a cell, and the right to turn private violence into public process. The watchman keeps the dark from swallowing the street. The constable gives the street consequences. Now we stay with the watchman as the night offers him something small and ordinary, a sound where there should be none, the faint scrape of iron on wood. He slows, turns the lantern low. The light catches a hand at a latch. Then nothing, just a doorway, still. A breath held. He calls out once, not a question, a presence. The sound moves down the lane and dies. There is no immediate answer, no patrol car rounding a corner, only distant footsteps that could belong to anyone. He steps closer. The staff touches the door. A gentle tap. Inside, someone shifts. Or perhaps it is only the house settling. In this city, uncertainty is a kind of cover. A second sound rises behind us, louder, careless. A burst of laughter from a tavern and the crash of a cup. Drunk men spill into the street, swaying, shoulders brushing walls. One shoves another. It becomes a circle of bodies. Then a tangle. The watchman hesitates, because he is one man and the dark has many hands. He blows his call. The rattle clacks, wood on wood. The signal travels in sharp pieces. A window opens. A voice answers from above. Someone mutters a curse and pulls back the curtain. And then, far off, a different danger. Not a shout. A smell. Hot pitch. A thin orange flicker where there should be black. Fire begins quietly. It always does. In a loft. Under a stair. In straw that has been drying all day. The response is real, but it is slow. Not because people do not care, but because they are scattered. Because they must wake first. Dress. Find buckets. Find water. Find each other. One parish hears it. Another does not. One watchman runs. Another is 2 streets away, calling the hour into a different silence. This is the limit of the system. It works when trouble is small. It frays when trouble moves faster than voices can carry. The night teaches the same lesson again and again. London is growing, and the old watch is always arriving a moment late. Now we lift away from the alley and rise slowly above the roofs. The firelight shrinks to a few dull points. The shouting becomes a texture, then fades. London settles back into its dark shape, quiet again. Unfinished, always becoming. From here, the night watch looks small. A lantern moving through a grid of streets. A single voice calling the hour into air that swallows sound. And yet, that small motion is the beginning of something larger. Because the city, lit streets, numbered houses, uniforms, stations does not appear all at once. It grows out of nights like this, out of parishes trying to hold order with limited money, limited men, and a system that depends on neighbors waking up when the rattle sounds. We drift over the river, water sliding past wharves, barges creaking at their ropes. In the distance, the outline of towers. A city that will become a capital of trade, finance, and empire is still, right now, solving basic problems with basic tools. And that is the softer twist. London's later safety is not only the work of grand reforms and famous names, it is also the accumulated habit of ordinary vigilance. A watchman's circuit, a constable's list, a door checked, a fire spotted early, a crowd summoned before panic spreads. Nothing here feels modern. It feels improvised, local, human, sometimes ineffective, often late. But it establishes a principle that will not disappear. The night is a public space, and someone must be responsible for it. We hover for a moment longer, lantern light, deep shadow, a city learning, slowly, how to watch itself. Morning comes without ceremony. A thin light presses into the streets. Smoke thins. Doors open. People step out as if the night were a tide that has finally pulled back. The watchman's lantern is dim now, unnecessary. His circuit ends where it began, at the edge of a parish waking up. What we have seen is not modern policing. It is something older, a city improvising protection with local money, local duty, and human limits. Watchmen walking to be seen. Constables stepping in when the night turns into a case. A system that depends on neighbors hearing a rattle. Choosing to rise, choosing to help. And yet, this is the foundation. The idea that order is maintained by presence, by procedure, by someone assigned to notice what most people would rather sleep through. In the decades ahead, London will experiment. Bow Street runners, paid men who pursue criminals beyond a single parish. Then, later, a more centralized force, the Metropolitan Police built for a city that has outgrown patchwork solutions. But that future begins here, in slow footsteps on wet stone, in a voice calling the hour into fog, in a lantern that makes the dark, briefly, a public space. If you want to keep traveling through nights like this, tell us which city we should reconstruct next. And if you'd like more scenes from the past, you can subscribe for the next one. O ito manikatai.